can't get specific about injuries, but just some of the guys that are banged up, like Austin Mack and Baron Browning, some of those guys, Coop. Can you speak on just how important it is to get them back for the stretch run, and are you optimistic you might get some of those guys back?
Yeah, certainly optimistic to get those guys back. It'll be good to get them back, and we were overly cautious probably a little bit last week, but yeah, looking forward to have those guys ready.
And especially 10 games into a season, how do you feel about the overall health of your team and all the blowouts? How has that helped that situation for you?
Well, I think we're fresh. I think we're healthy and fresh at this point of the year, which is great.
Front row middle, Joey.
Ryan, this is kind of maybe the way the schedule worked out, kind of different, where you have Penn State and Michigan back to back. If you had like a magic marker and could devise the Big Ten schedule, would you rather play Penn State in October instead of so close to Michigan, or are you fine with it?
Again, I think it's all computer generated, so it doesn't really matter. And like I told the guys, we don't make the schedule, and all we do is, we're going to just take 1 week at a time and worry about the things we can control.
And Sean Clifford's been their quarterback. Obviously, this will be your first time playing him after playing Trace McSorley for all those years. What do you think makes him unique as a passer?
I don't know what makes him unique as a passer. I think as a quarterback, he has a good combination of escapabilities, got good spatial awareness. He can get himself out of trouble, accurate throwing the ball. You can tell he's competitive and tough and well prepared and a good leader.
Front row left, Mitch.
Ryan, Justin was a few weeks ago was talking about his schedule and how all of his classes are online, and I'm wondering, how much are you aware of whether the players have online classes, are going to class, have to go to class on a certain time, and do you prefer that online situation because it gives them more flexibility for football?
Yeah, we're aware of everything. I mean, we make sure we know every week we go through on a Thursday meeting and go through every single class for every single guy on our team at length. That's a long meeting. We make sure we're up to the minute on what's going on. So for sure we know everything that's going on. And I think the online classes, bring some benefits to the table for sure. And it's kind of different than the way we all grew up, very not face-to-face, but it gives those guys some more flexibility. And so I think, a good mixture of the in-person and then also online classes is good.
Second row right, Kyle.
What are some of the under-the-radar things that Justin has improved on in his passing game this season, other than just simply he's throwing the ball better?
I mean, I think it's all the above. I think every week he gets a little, better in each area. So it goes all the way from, in the run game, identifying where he's going to go with the ball, because you have to make a decision on just about every run game or every play in the run game. And in passing, it's protections, it's identifying coverage, it's going through protections, it's understanding down and distance, throwing it away, anticipation, all the above.
And were you on the scout team at all in New Hampshire?
Yeah.
Just, I guess, kind of speak to how difficult that job is, and are there some, I don't know, one or two guys that kind of shine every week on the scout team here this year?
There's a lot of guys. We give the Scout Team Player of the Week award. We actually 4 guys each week, 2 on offense, 2 on defense, 1 skill, 1 line. And those guys are just as important as anybody else. The look is so critically important. And there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys who started off on the scout team that are playing on special teams or playing right now. And that's a great opportunity every day to go against really good players and to get better.
Far left, Lori.
Coach, how much of you wants to see your players absorb and enjoy the pageantry of this weekend, and specifically Senior Day on Saturday, and how much of you would prefer that they be in a hermetically sealed bubble where all they're focused on is what they have to do their 111?
Yeah, I think it's easy to say enjoy the experience and say that. I think it's harder to do, but we will talk about that, and we talk about that each week. You got to enjoy it because time waits for nobody, and you have to grab onto this thing and hold on as tight as you can because this is a special opportunity for all of us, and we have to make sure we understand that. And I think our guys do understand that. I think that they have appreciated each other and the moments, but in big games like this, you're just so focused on what's going on. Sometimes it's hard to really appreciate it all until it's all over.
Urban, even at the end of his tenure, was talking about how special his first class of seniors was because it helped him to establish the foundation of what he wanted to accomplish here. I imagine your feelings toward your senior class is similar heading into this weekend?
Yeah, there's no question. We've been through a lot in the last couple of years, and love these guys with all my heart. And they've become family, and so certainly for those guys who are having their last game in the stadium like that, it is going to be emotional, and they deserve everything that they get in terms of praise and admiration from everybody in Buckeye Nation for what they've done, and it is a special group.
Second row left, Bill.
Ryan, I think you have, if I have the number right, a dozen fifth-year scholarship seniors on this team. Kind of a high number for a place like this. Just how have you seen that dynamic impact your roster this year?
I think the maturity level is off the charts. I just think having grown men in your program, I mean, if they've been in our program for 5 years, they're grown men. And just the approach, they're almost like player coaches. And, they know what's right, and they're around the team, and the young guys more than we are. And there's a self-police going on right there, and those guys, mentor the younger guys and want to leave a legacy behind. I've heard that several times from many of the players. So having maturity like that is important, because you can tell guys until you're blue in the face about, if we don't show up this week, here's what can happen. But guys who have been through it before and have those scars, it's a little bit more real.
How much do you and your staff talk with guys about their individual recruiting classes leaving an impact on the program? There's some guys from 2015 whose class started kind of wonky, but they seem to be finishing out the career strong. I just don't know if you measure that at all.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I think that they have relationships they built when they came in together. There's a bond there when you come in as a group, but we don't talk about it all that much. There was a couple moments last spring where we grabbed one of the classes and said, now it's time to grow up. No longer are you freshmen. It's time for you guys to now step up. And so we'll do that, a little bit in the off season, but overall, it's not something we focus on.
Front row right, Austin.
Ryan, what's made KJ such a good fit for what you want to do with the passing game?
I think KJ just got a tremendous way of just playing the game. He's got great body language for a quarterback. Like, certain receivers they know how to get open and they know how to talk to the quarterback with their body language. He understands space. He knows how to get open. He's crafty. He's been around. He's clutch. When you just think about all the plays he's made in his career, it's pretty amazing. And the production that he's had is off the charts. And it goes back, KJ's he's not 4'3", he's not 6'5", but he just has a way, like I think Bill Belichick says about the best thing about a receiver is he gets open and he catches the ball. And that's what KJ does.
It just seems like, I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase this. Like, last year they had the three seniors, and he chose to come back, but they overshadowed him a little bit. There's been a lot of talk about Olave or Garrett Wilson this year, the whole thing. It just seems like he's on the brink of these records, but has never really had the spotlight to himself. What is it, about him that has made him so valuable?
Well, I mean, our team knows, in this room right here, when we have our team, the spotlight is on him because he is a team captain and one of the more decorated receivers in the history of the school, and his production, again, speaks for itself. But, and he kind of a leader by example in the way he goes about his business. And but, again, I just think it's all those things. Some guys are just competitively tough. They understand, again, how space works and how to get open and how to find the open window and how to win against man-to-man and all those things. That's KJ, and he's left a lot of that into that room, and there's a lot of those younger guys that have learned from him this year.
Third row left, Dan.
Ryan, you guys seem to be a little more aggressive passing the ball the last couple of games. Was any of that calculated looking ahead to this game and seeing how strong Penn State's run defense has been?
No, not really. No, it was just something that was a focus coming off the bye week. Is we just wanted to do a little bit better job throwing and catching the ball, and also in some of those games we want to get the throws in a little bit earlier in the game if we think it's going to go the way it's been the last couple of weeks. And so typically in games that get a little lopsided, we have to run the ball a little bit more in the second half. And so when you look back on those games, you want to make sure that guys like KJ and guys like Ben and those guys are getting touches. So that's a little bit calculated going into those games.
When you look at this Penn State defense, and I think they're number one right now in yards per carry allowed, how important is it for Justin to be ready to have to put the team on his back if that situation?
Oh yeah, I mean of course he has to. I mean that's what he has to be ready for. That's what he's working for all week is to be in that game and come down and win the game in the fourth quarter like JT Barrett did, like Dwayne Haskins did the year before. I mean that's the game we're in. So it's going to take everything we have.
Third row left, Edward.
Ryan, was Chase Young able to practice the last couple of weeks, and if so, how much was he able to do?
Yep, yeah, he's been practicing. He wasn't really involved in the game plan the last couple of weeks, but he has been practicing, and Larry's been doing some extra work with him on the field drill-wise, but now he's right back to practicing with the defense.
And what sort of pitch count, if any, is he on this week and the game on Saturday?
No, he'll be playing.
Far left, Matt.
The stakes of this game are obvious with both teams. With a game like this, do you even have to bring that up? Is it all X's and O's? I mean, what a win would mean you're already in Indianapolis. Could you just talk about the dynamic of that and how much you talk about that versus this is just another game plan?
Well, I think our team knows what's at stake. We've talked about that, but now it's time to just focus on Penn State. And this is a talent-equated game. We all know we've been in some games that we've had more talent than some of the other teams we played. This is a team that talent equates. And so when that happens, it goes back to discipline, it goes back to fundamentals, it goes back to toughness, all of those things that come into play when your talent no longer matters. And so those are the things. And we got to do a good job putting a good game plan together, let the guys play, and then prepare them to go. And then the team who's more prepared will win the game.
There's a lot of stuff that goes when you have a big game like this. ESPN's here, Fox is here, all this stuff. Is it more difficult coaching-wise to make sure everybody's focused? It sounds strange to say because it's such a big game, but with all the distractions, it's even senior day and things like that. Is that something you have to work on with the staff, or are you not worried so much about
No, I mean, I think that goes hand in hand with being in Ohio State. When you're to where we are at this point of the year, it's expected. You're going to have a lot of eyes here, but a lot of eyes are on us every week. And I talked to the guys about that even last week. Being at Rutgers, maybe it didn't feel like that, but the whole nation was watching. And if you don't show up to play, then you put yourself at risk. So it's the same thing week in and week out. And certainly, if we knew we'd got to this point, we knew this game was going to be like this, so we're prepared.
Front row right, Bill.
I've asked you this before. You've been asked plenty of times. We thought maybe Cincinnati, we thought maybe Wisconsin, Michigan State, that this would be a game where you truly were tested. You're 10 games in and you really haven't been. At this point of the year, having gone through 10 games, how confident are you that when you are tested, if you're facing real adversity in the fourth quarter, this team is ready?
Well, I think in the Wisconsin game, I mean, we were only up 3 points there in the third quarter, and I think that was the one time I can look back and say, yeah, we had adversity at that point. We responded. So I feel good about that. Now whether we do or not, that's going to be based on what happens in this game, and that's why you play the game to find out. But I look back on that moment as a point where our backs were against the wall and we did respond.
And you mentioned that in this game, talent is equated. Could you kind of give a rundown of Penn State and what especially concerns you? What phases of their game? What players really concern you?
Yeah, first off, James is an excellent coach and does a great job with the program and motivating everybody involved there, and has done that for a long time. He knows how to win in big games, prepare guys in all three phases. I think their coordinators are excellent. I think Ricky, Ronnie, and Brent Pry do a really good job schematically, creating a lot of problems, but also being fundamentally sound. And then they have the players on offense. I think Clifford's playing really well. Hamler's more dynamic players in the country. I think Dotson's as good a wide receiver as there is in the Big Ten. And Freiermuth and some of those other guys are really talented as well. So I think you got a skill set over there, guys that can really hurt you. And then on defense, Micah Parsons is as talented as there is, again, in the conference. They do a good job up front with their front. They mix those guys in. Sean Spencer, the D-line coach, does a good job of rolling those guys in and out. They got a lot of depth there. And then really those guys have played a lot of football. I mean, Reed has played a lot of football. There's a lot of guys in the back end who have some experience there. So when you combine the experience with the good coaching and the fundamentally, sound schemes, that they pose a major problem for us. And so it's going to be a big challenge.
Second row right, Tony.
Ronnie, you talked about talent being equated. This will be probably the third time you've faced maybe the best run defense in the Big Ten. You've responded really well the first two times against Michigan State and Wisconsin, I'm guessing. I'm wondering what allows you to do that? You mentioned toughness. How much of that is in play when you're able to do this against defenses that don't normally allow that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge for us because they're very, very good at what they do. And you have to figure out ways schematically to go at them and figure out how you're going to defeat their schemes. But then at the end of the day, it comes back to what we talked about, which is toughness and getting the game to the fourth quarter and then wearing them down. And and then, doing everything you can to go win the game in the fourth quarter.
February, January?
Exactly.
Right behind him, Rob?
You touched on this earlier, the quarterback-receiver relationship. Sometimes a quarterback has that guy who focuses on. What makes that work? You've done this a long time with quarterbacks. Is there any danger in locking in and depending a quarterback on a certain guy, a Fields to an Olave or there? How do you work that through in practice? And
Yeah,
it's
well,
good and bad, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think that's why we roll our receivers. That's why, whether it's 7-on-7 or teamwork, we roll those guys constantly. So everybody's getting work with each other. But you're not, as a quarterback, you're not just picking out your favorite receiver. I mean, it's all based on coverage. It's based on progressions. It's based on what the defense is giving us. And, if KJ Hill is the first read in the progression and he's open, then he's going to get the ball. And if he's not, then something's wrong. If he's not, then it goes on to the next guy. Now, part of that is, do you get open, especially versus man-to-man coverage? If it's zone, then you have to space it out, and the timing has to be right. So those are all the conversations that go with it. And, guys do have, better chemistry with each other. That happens. But I think the more they play with each other, the better off it is. Yeah.
Is that what creates the chemistry? Just that sort of, it works and so it continues to work?
I think so. And I think the communication and the time they spend together talking about different things and, how much work they want to put into figuring out coverages and talking things out in the game plan helps as well.
You spoke on this after the game. It's almost a catch-22. The better you guys have been collectively, it's hurt individual stats in a sense. How much of a tug is that for you to try to work through that whole thing? It's a challenge. It is what it is.
It is. Yeah.
Frustrating?
No, it's not frustrating. I mean, shoot, it's a good problem to have. I'm sure people look at me like, what is he frustrated about? But it's, for those guys, I get it too. They're competitive. They want to be out there. They want to have production, and they are. They're producing at a high level. So there's a lot of football ahead of them, and they know that. They know that. In these games here, I mean, it's going to take everything we have to win the game. So very, very different than maybe the last couple of weeks.
Second row middle, Bruce.
In your 2 years here, the Penn State game has been unique, and you've been down by 2 scores in a fourth quarter both times. Take me through the dynamic of working with the guys upstairs, you as a play caller, communicating on the field. Is it different then than it is during the game because of the urgency, or what has to work in those moments for the dynamic to come together and for you to be able to do what you've done?
Yeah, I mean, those games were no different other than the fact that we were down and looking to come back. I feel like in the last couple of years, we felt like we had good stuff. We just weren't executing great. In the first game, we turned the ball over. The second game, we hit the tight end in the head with the ball. I mean, it was a great throw, and it was a turnover in the game. There was just some of those things that went on in that game, and we just felt like we had the right stuff, and we just had to hang in there. So, we've talked to our guys about that even this week. We got to come out to a fast start. That the first game, the opening kickoff return for a touchdown. We kind of put ourselves behind the 8 ball in those games, and then, but to answer your question, it's just communication, just trying to figure out, like, do we need new plays, or are the plays working? We're just not executing them very well. And when you go against good defenses, things like that happen.
So I wondered, in those situations, by definition, what you're doing is not working, or you wouldn't be down. So are you, as a play caller in those situations, are you thinking, all right, what's on page 35 of the playbook rather than the first couple that I plan to use this week? Are you looking for something you haven't tried, or how do you make a judgment on, no, this is good, what we plan to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will work, we just have to do it a little differently?
Yeah, I think that's the art of coaching, is figuring out, is it the right thing that we just need to execute better, or is the play no good? And that's based on, the different styles of defense that you play against, and then measuring the plays that your guys know, and then, trying to, give the defense something new to look at.
What's it been in these 2 games, like the play to Ben Victor and the JK screen pass, and were those things that you had tried and they just worked better?
Those were executed well, but then there were also a lot of calls in there that, we wish we had back, that really schematically weren't great. And then some other ones that were pretty good ideas that we didn't execute, and then sometimes it's just the defense playing well. This is, again, a very well-coached defense, and they've been the last couple of years. They've been really good on defense. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be a give and take, and you can't panic because we've had so much success that when we hit a little bit of adversity, we can't start reeling. We just have to hang in there and keep swinging at it, and we'll crack it.
Second row left, Ari.
Ryan, you said this was a talent-equated game, and I believe that's the first time you've said that this year. This is the most talented roster that you guys have faced. I'm wondering, does that change the way that you guys prepare for a game in any way? And when you get into a situation where you're facing an opponent, and now a string of opponents probably that are going to have enough talent to give you guys a battle, is your gut instinct to open things up, try new things, do new things, or is it to do what you do best and do it better? Like, how does your mindset as a coach change when you're playing a team that has that talent?
Well, I just think every play matters, every yard matters, every series matters. You just have to make sure you understand how important every play is in a game like this, more than anything else. Because in maybe some of those other games, it's like, well, if you didn't get it that series, we'll get the ball back here pretty quick, we'll be okay. Well, that's not the case in something like this. You know, we mentioned it just coming off of the game, you know, on Saturday. You know, I mean, you turn the ball over like we did and they score a touchdown, that could be the difference in the game. That was the difference in the Indiana game last week. And so we just have to be mature enough to understand how important every series, every play is, and that it might just be one play that you know, changes the game. And I can't really say that maybe we've been in a game where that's been the case this year. So understanding that for as coaches, but understanding that as players is going to be huge.
When you go through an entire schedule like this, and, you know, frankly, you haven't been able to say that, right? And no disrespect to some of the previous teams that you've played, but I'm wondering, how much do you guys think ahead during the season to teams that have the talent to match up? And is it something that you don't have the luxury like you did in previous weeks where, you know, you could run what you run at the base level and be just fine? Are you preparing for games like this weeks in advance, thinking about ways to, you know, get an edge when the talent might be close to equal?
Yeah, and we don't even it doesn't matter who we're playing. I mean, we spend a lot of time game planning and respect everybody, and you know, try to change it up and mix it up. And great example of that is doing an onside kick, you know, a couple weeks ago, you know. And so if it's there, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to go after it. So you know, it's one of those things. You build your offense, defense, and special teams as the season goes on, and just get stronger and stronger and stronger. And just all you really focus on is that game. You start getting ahead of yourselves, that's where you get yourself again in trouble. So you certainly want to build it up and kind of build your packages up as you go, but at the same time, it's all about winning that game at that moment.
Far left, Mark?
Already been asked and answered.
Oh, okay. Move over here to the right, Don.
That's the first time I heard that.
Coach, when you look at them, just what jumps out on tape, and what's this week like game planning against a club like this?
Yeah, it's a lot of hours. It's a lot of work. No stones unturned, and it's our job as coaches to give the guys a good plan, to let them play fast and be schematically sound. But what jumps off the tape is, you know, how strong and physical they are. You know, they do a good job of making sure that they're fresh. They roll guys, and they got an edge to them.
How about the 12th man? Any message for the fans this week?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, this is for so many reasons. This is the biggest one of the year, and we need everybody in the seat. We need everybody really loud. Make it really hard for their offense to communicate. You know, they're going to do a lot of checking at the line of scrimmage and communicating. So we need everybody. Every time Penn State has the ball, we need them to be as loud as they possibly can. It doesn't matter whether it's third down, doesn't matter what it is, because every play they're trying to communicate. They're trying to tell the line what the play is. They're going to try to tell the receivers what the play is, change plays, and that gives them an advantage. But if our crowd's loud, it makes it very hard for them to communicate that. So, yeah, I mean, anything we can do to be as loud as possible, that will make it harder for them. And then this is what an opportunity to go out and you know, send our seniors out the right way as their last time playing in the Horseshoe, and I know that means a lot to everybody in Buckeye Nation, and it's going to mean a lot to our team to see, you know, everybody out there loud and ready to roll at noon.
Right behind you, Clay.
Last 3 games in the series have been decided by a combined 5 points. J.K. was asked after the Rutgers game about, you know, these are probably going to be 4-quarter games the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. And he said, well, who says it's going to be a 4-quarter game? Do you appreciate that confidence?
Oh, yeah, for sure. You know, I mean, J.K.'s played a lot of football. He knows exactly what we're into this week. But I think he's excited to play in 4 quarters. You know, it's been a couple weeks since he's been able to do that. So, you know, he's obviously very competitive and can't wait to play in the game. He's looking forward to it.
Front row right, Tim?
Yeah, 2 quickies. Number one, talking about the playbook, et cetera. How deep have y'all gone into your playbook, either page-wise or gigabyte-wise? I don't even know if you keep it on a real book anymore, but And is there a propensity to always keep stuff available? I know there is, but I mean,
Yeah.
speak to that. I mean, you're 10 games into the year. How much more could there be in this book?
I mean, we have most of the stuff in. You always look in a weekly, game plan, trying to figure out ways to tweak things here and there, or change the looks up, or come up with some new things here and there. And again, so much of it is based on the guys that you have, and every year it takes a different journey, And when you think about 2 years ago, you think about last year, you think about now. I mean, there's certain things that are in common, but it's very different too. Just some of the schemes that we've run, and again, I think that's good coaching, is being able to recognize what you guys do best, and then adapting from there.
But it seems like y'all always come up with an answer the last several years, Ryan. I mean, do you have that sense when you're standing there, when you're talking, to you guys on the headphones, that there is an answer?
Yeah, and I think that's part of it too. Is if you have too much stuff, all of a sudden you can't execute it very well. If you have not enough stuff, then you get into a game and you're like, oh man, we don't have anything here, and that's a bad feeling too. So again, that balance is really critical in a game like this. You want to allow them to play fast and not have too much stuff, but have enough ammunition.
The quickie, that moment against Wisconsin, moment of truth, so to speak, early third quarter, early in that game against Michigan State when they were throwing haymakers too, defensively and stuff. What were the conversations like between you and the guys upstairs? Were you impressed by how y'all were handling things? I mean, was it cool and calm like air traffic controllers, or was anybody screaming? What was it like?
If anybody was screaming, it was probably me. I think everybody was pretty calm at that moment. I think we knew what we were going to get ourselves into, and what you can't do is panic in those moments, and you just have to keep swinging away at it and have confidence that it's going to crack, that you have the right things, and it's really just figuring out what are they in, what plays do we like, and then at that moment, all right, guys, let's get the guys together and talk to them, and that's really what it comes down to.
Got time for a couple more. Front row left, Doug.
Ohio State in 16, 17, and 18 moved a veteran guard to center for 1 year. You have a younger guy, a third-year guy at center now. You have a true freshman backing up at center. You have a highly rated center recruit coming in here. Did you guys want to change something in terms of trying to develop younger centers rather than relying on moving some guys late?
I mean, again, I wasn't there. I wasn't here then, so I know that Harry Miller has done an unbelievable job of getting himself to a point where he's highly functioning as a center, which for a freshman is unheard of, really. And so he's doing a great job. Josh has played center since I've been here. He really didn't play guard, and so it kind of just depends on your roster and the kind of dynamic you have in that room. But if you feel like you have a young guy that you want to develop at center, I think it's best to get him at center and let him learn, because he's got to make all those calls. And then as he gets older, you can always move him. It's hard to move a guard to a center. That was hard on Mike Jordan last year. He did a great job, but it's a lot easier to move a center to a guard, in my opinion, than it is the other way around.
How do you guys decide who you're going to send out to catch a punt? And not to call anybody out, but when you have a young guy muff a punt, how will that affect decision making going forward?
Yeah, we decide during the week who's going to do it, and then sometimes we roll guys. But we have confidence in Garrett. He's certainly a young player who made a mistake, and he's going to learn from it and move on. But he's going to practice better, and again, a lot of it goes back to how you practice. If you're going to practice, intently and do a good job with that, then yeah, we're going to have confidence because we see it in practice. If for whatever reason we don't see it in practice, then we have to make a decision. But he'll practice well this week.
And to follow up on what you've sort of been asked about, I mean, the last two Penn State games, again, you guys scored 2 touchdowns in the last 5 minutes, 2 touchdowns in the last 7 minutes to pull these things out. In that moment for you as the play caller, are you completely calm? Is there electricity in your body? Are you confident? Are you worried? Is that what you live for? Are those the moments you hope you never get in that spot? What's that really like? Because, I mean, these guys play you tough.
When you sit there and think about that, it's hard to remember. It's hard for me to remember what those feelings were like, because you're just you're in the game. I guess it'd be like asking, a guy who's playing in the game, how are you feeling in this moment? I was just playing, I was just coaching. I think that's really what it is. And, you're not really thinking, you're just reacting, you're competing. And then once the game, gets over, I remember last year running up to Coach Meyer on the field and be like, what just happened? And you just don't realize it until you get done with the game. You're like, that really happened? And because you're doing everything you can to try to get the right plays in and make sure the guys are in the right spot and do everything you can. So hard to remember exactly what was going on.
And just the idea of, again, talking about how close the games had been with Penn State. So many teams have trouble playing Ohio State tough. You guys are really good. Is there something to the idea that a program can have a stronger belief of, hey, we can hang with these guys? Like, do you think Penn State coming into this game maybe has a different idea than many teams you play because they have proof of, well, you know, Ohio State beat us the last 2 years, but we pushed them right to the wire?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and the year before they won, right? I mean, so absolutely, they're a very, very good team, and you know, obviously they felt like they should have won both those games. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to come in here with a tremendous amount of confidence.
And final question, seventh row right, Jeremy?
Ryan, obviously, all the factors this weekend, the de facto championship game for the division, senior day. You have probably the biggest recruiting weekend of your year also coming up. How do you and your coaches handle all that stuff and still find time to make sure that you're prioritizing guys who are making their way here for a media?
You know, for a game like this, it's very difficult to spend a lot of time with those guys. There's just so much at stake, and I think most recruits understand that. They want to come and feel the atmosphere. They want to see what it's like to be here for a big game and feel that. That's what they're looking for, in my opinion, on a visit like this. They're not looking for a lot of one-on-one time with the coach or you know, learn about our Real Life Wednesday program or anything like that. That's not what this visit is. And I talk to the guys all the time. Every visit, you're looking to check off a box, and this is a box to check off. You know what it's going, you know, to be playing for the Big Ten championship, and so you know, Mark and our recruiting staff got their hands full. I mean, we got a lot of people coming in, and they're gonna have to be really organized and do a great job. But to answer your question about the coaches, then it's not gonna get much face time because we're just so focused on this game.
Is there a handful or a subset of guys who you're like, you can get here on Friday, maybe better, or, you know, stay later, or how do you work that out with the individual?
Yeah. I mean, based on if they're still in the playoffs and if they have a game Friday night or not, we try to get them here early. Sometimes it's hard to get hotel rooms. I mean, there's a lot of logistical stuff that everybody on the staff is working on. But even on Fridays, you know, they're not going to get much out of us. You know, I have a hard time, you know, before games really focusing on talking to recruits and their families when there's such a big game like this. It's just the way it is. And then I'll hang with them all night afterwards. But it's just kind of the way it goes.
Coach, thank you very much.
Yep.
Thanks, Ryan.
What a surprise.
What a surprise. What a surprise. No, he said it one particular time, but it was so on the point that it became part of poker.
How you doing? What's up, everybody?
Thank you. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
We're going to open up the floor for Coach Hafley. First question, front row right, or front row middle, Dave, 24/7 Sports.
Hi, Jeff. Ohio State was 72nd in the country last year in total defense. I know you don't like the comparisons from last year to this year, but this year Ohio State #1 in the country in total defense, #1 in scoring defense. Just how much pride do you guys take in that? Do you care about those stats, and just how much pride do you take in that?
No, I think you take a lot of pride in it. You take pride in how hard these players have worked, how hard they've prepared, and what they've done on the field thus far. I think everybody knows we have 2 tough opponents left right now, and we'll see how that falls after those 2. But yeah, for right now, these guys, the staff's done a really good job. They have, and the players. I've said it many times. I can't say enough about them and what they've done. I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to the players.
I know you guys studied the metrics pretty closely. Other than keeping points off the scoreboard for a defensive coordinator, what's the most important stat, or the most important, like maybe a few different stats that you really look at that are important?
Well, I said this before, right? Big plays. I think if we make a team drive the length of the field and earn every single yard, I think you always have a chance to keep them out of the end zone. So to me, it's big plays and tackling. If you eliminate the explosives and you tackle, I think you have a pretty good chance to win at any level.
Front row middle, Joey from the Dispatch.
You guys are getting Chase Young back this week. How excited are you?
Very excited. Are you excited? I mean, I think everybody should be excited. I think he's one of the best players in all of college football. You know, I think our team's excited. I know the coaches are excited. I'm sure the fans are excited. excited for him. You know, I know it was hard for him not being in those last 2 games. I'm excited for him to get out and get back at it. And I think our team is excited too.
How much were you guys able to use him in practice the last couple weeks? Because you're game planning, and obviously he's probably not a part of that game plan because he's not playing in the game. So what was his kind of like practice plan like?
He took reps last week. We didn't work him in as much because we had to get the other guys ready. But he took reps, made sure that he kept in shape and, you know, kept fresh. So he'll be ready to roll.
No concern about rustiness?
No.
Right next door, Bill from the Dispatch.
Yeah, you've got obviously some stars like Chase, and you've got some senior stars, Jordan Fuller and Malik Harrison. You've also got some guys who are maybe a little bit more under the radar, Landers and Cornell and guys like that. How important have those guys been, those senior guys, for this defense?
Yeah, the seniors are everything. I mean, they're the ones that establish the leadership. They're the ones that go out and show everybody how hard we have to practice, how hard we have to study. Those are the guys that when things get hard, people kind of rally behind. Those guys are the most important guys on the team. That senior leadership from those guys you just mentioned and more. Even guys that are seniors that aren't playing as much, those are the guys you rely on, you know, to teach the younger players how to do it the right way, you know, the culture here. So those guys are really important.
And in terms of Penn State, what concerns you the most about what they do?
Well, I think Penn State's really well coached. I think Ronnie does a great job. I think he's a good coach. They're very sound. I think he has a good scheme. He sees things very well. And then I think they have a lot of good players. They're strong up front. I think their quarterback's a good player. He's smart. He's physical. He's tough. He can run the ball. He can keep plays alive with his feet. He can throw the ball down the field. He's got a strong arm. And then obviously look at their wideouts. This is probably the best group that we've played this year. Number one is dynamic. He's fast. He's quick. He can change direction. But then the other guys are good too. They have a lot of speed. And then it might be the best tight end we've seen all year. So I think this is a very well-coached football team with dynamic players, and they have a handful of backs that they play that do a good job as well.
Front row right, Austin from Lettermen Row.
Jeff, corners are supposed to have short memories, right? We asked Sean Wade, you know, he's still thinking about the Hamler touchdown he gave up last year. He's still talking about it. I mean, is that a healthy thing for him to have internalized, or you know, what do you make of that?
Is he
approach?
talking about that recently?
He talked about it on Saturday night after the game.
I'll make sure he doesn't remember it. He's got to forget about that. I mean, it's over. It happened so long ago. You know, playing corner, it's about the next play. Whether you were good or bad on the last one, he can't think like that, and I'll make sure he doesn't think like that. I think Sean's a new player. I think he's a better player, and I think he'll be ready this time.
When you know, sometimes those happen, right?
Yeah.
You're one-on-one. How's he more equipped to handle something like that than he was maybe a year ago? I mean, I know you weren't there.
Yeah, I think he's more experienced. He's played more football, right? So when those scars happen, hopefully you learn from them. We all have them. I mean, Terrell Reeves got beat for touchdowns, and the next guy's going to get beat for touchdowns. I've made bad calls, and I've done things I shouldn't have done. The important part is you learn from them, and I'm sure he's learned from it. And, you know, I haven't seen the play, and I really don't care to see the play, but where was his help? Where was the pass rush? So was it totally his fault, right? So you can never just blame one guy or one person. Hopefully you learn from it, and hopefully he's ready to go, and I know that he will be, but we'll make sure he doesn't think about it or remember it. He'll be ready to play.
Third row right, Rob from the Dispatch.
Offensively, quarterback isn't necessarily supposed to have a favorite receiver. He's supposed to take what's there based on what the look is, but we know they do have favorite receivers. Defensively, how do you handle that? Do you tell your guys he likes to throw to this guy, even if that guy isn't necessarily the most talented, if that makes sense? How do you scheme that? What do you say to your guys when you know that the QB, this is his guy?
Well, I think you bring awareness, obviously, to where that guy is on the field. And then what formation is it? Where is he aligned in that formation? Is he to the field or is he to the boundary? And then why is he there? You know, are there certain splits that give things away? Are there certain formations that give things away? So you try to draw the attention to all that, not just who the player is. What down and distance do they like to throw him the ball? Where on the field do they like to throw him the ball? So there's more to it than just one player, and that's why you have to study this game. It's more than just go line up and play, but it's not like we're going to change everything we do for one player, but we're very aware of who he is, where he is, as well as the other receivers on the team.
Is it fair to say that quarterbacks do have favorite guys?
You got to ask Coach Day. If certain guys were my receivers, I'd have favorites. So you got to ask Coach Day that. I'm a defensive guy. I have guys that I don't like that play receiver, so.
with Chase coming back, and you said there's no rust. What differences can you do with this defense with him against an offense like Penn State, as opposed to if he wasn't able to play?
It's not so much what we can do differently. I mean, we can line him up here, line him up there. You guys all saw when we stood him up and moved him around. It's just I think he changes what they have to do. They have to account for him. They might have to slide to him. They might have to keep a tight end on him. They might now have to keep a back in on him. They're going to have to find ways so he's not one-on-one. They might have to get rid of the ball quicker. They might not be able to sit in the pocket and throw those deep developing routes that give you problems. So I think it's more so what are they going to do than what do we have to do. But certainly we have to do a good job in the scheme of putting him in the best position to succeed.
And what's his demeanor been like the last couple of weeks? The fact that he wasn't going through all the game reps and everything like that in practice?
He's been great. He's came to work every day. I saw him watching film late last night. You know, his practice, he hasn't changed who he is. I know it was a tough time, and I think it will make him stronger in the end.
Third row, middle. Dan from Lettermen Row.
Jeff, you guys have done a really good job of eliminating big plays this year. This is a Penn State offense that's had a lot of big plays. What are the things that you have to reinforce for your team this week to make sure that's not something that recurs this week?
Yeah, it's play the scheme. Rely on your fundamentals and your technique and do your job. And I know that sounds cliche, but that's the truth. Don't do anything different. Do what you've been coached to do. Do what you've been doing. Play the right leverage. Get off blocks. Tackle. Run to the football. And I'm not hiding anything from you. That's the truth. What's got us to this point is we're fundamentally sound. Our guys play really hard, and they're playing with really good technique and fundamentals. So don't try to create anything. Don't change who you are because of who they are.
You guys made the decision to put Cade Stover at defensive end this past week. Just wondering what went into that decision, and is that kind of something you're just experimenting with, or do you kind of see that as his future at all?
Yeah, we wanted to experiment with him. We've been doing it for a little bit in practice. He's been doing that a little bit on the scout team. So we kind of just are trying to figure out exactly what he can do, where he's best suited. So I think we'll continue to work through that and see what the best spot is for him. But he's very talented. He's got a lot of versatility. He's strong. He can run. So we're trying to find the best place for him right now.
Second row, middle. Bruce?
I assume when you got here, you did a self-scout of the personnel you'd be coaching?
Sure. Yes.
What did you see, and did you design your defense based upon that, or did you design your defense based upon what Ryan wanted?
Well, we saw really good players. I saw really talented players at all three levels. And then I think what we tried to do is we tried to take that skill set and that talent and put them in the best position. So then I think it was a combination of stuff Coach Madison's done, stuff that I've done, stuff that Coach Johnson have done. We kind of pieced it all together to find out, you know, what does this group do really well, and how can we maximize that ability? And that's kind of how we put the scheme together.
So you've given up essentially a third as many points, and about, I mean, your yardage is a decrease of 80%. If people ask you to explain how, because it's the same guy, it's not like you have impact freshmen.
Well, again, I watched the personnel last year, but I don't want to draw any comparisons to that. So how have we done it this year? I think, one, we've got the guys to buy in. I think our staff has done a really, really good job teaching the scheme, but more importantly than anything else there is in football, guys, is fundamentals and technique. And I say that because I think that's lost today in football. And I've said this before. People get, I'm going to draw this blitz up and this coverage up, and I'm going to do this, this, and this. And we can all do that. But at the end of the day, what can you really execute? And if you have to spend all your time doing all of that, then how do you teach getting off of blocks? How do you teach leverage? How do you teach the proper steps? How do you teach tackling? How do you teach all the little things that are so much more important than scheme? So that's what we've done. And people might look at us on tape and say, they don't do too much. But we do. But I believe that we play with great fundamentals, and I would say right now we're one of the best tackling teams in football. And that was more important to us than any, wow, that's a great blitz, or wow, that coverage is so exotic. To us, that was not the important thing. So I think we put our priorities in the right place with really good talent that was recruited here, and the players that bought in and worked. And I think that is why we are where we are right now.
So if you had to give it a percentage accounting for the improvement or for your performance this year, what percentage would you say is scheme change? What percentage is buy-in? What percentage is technique and all those other instructions?
I think it's hard to put a percentage on that. I'd put the biggest percentage on the players buying in, and then on them working the fundamentals and the technique, and the coaches doing a great job of getting them ready to do that. But I'd give most of the credit to the players. And again, you also had a year more experience you have a lot of guys that got a lot of playing time last year that this is year 2 for them. So, you know, if you do want to make comparisons or look back, a lot of these guys played last year, learned from it, got their scars, got better, and now they are playing again, which hopefully the more games you play, the more tough times you have, the better you will get. So I give the credit to the players on the team.
Most improvement in sports is related somewhat to confidence.
No doubt.
How much of the buy-in first had to be you getting them to believe they were better than the performance a year ago?
That's huge. I mean, that's everything. And you see it day by day. If a guy plays well, the way he comes out and practices the next day, he practices better. In life, anything is confidence. I mean, you make a great point. So when I say that, the guys bought in. They did. They bought into what we were teaching and what they had to do. But I also think they developed a confidence in themselves. And I think if you watch us, or at least I hope if you guys watch us, you see a confident group, because you have to play this game confident. Whether you're a DB turning and looking for the ball, or you're a defensive end lining up against the tackle. That's everything, which is why I give the credit to the players.
Time had to teach them to be confident. You had to get them confident.
Well, I guess we figured that part out too. I still give the credit to the players.
Got time for a couple more. Front row right, Tim, Lettermen Row.
Yeah, Jeff, talk about not giving up big plays. How much of a reality check was it for your defense to give up that gash play off left tackle Saturday after the muddle punt? And, you know what I mean? Do you, in any season, do you need a reinforcement moment where if you don't take care of business, things can happen?
Yeah, I think that's huge. And if you look back to that play, there were 3 or 4 players on the team at all different levels that should have stopped that play. And it's just a reminder, if you don't do your job every single play and you're not precise on every single play, that can happen. And we have to eliminate that. And that cannot happen, and hopefully it won't happen.
And the other thing, with Chase coming back, do you think he's the kind of player that has to be, I don't know, toned down a little bit? Because I'm sure he's missed 2 games. He's excited about being back, if you understand my.
Yeah, no,
talk about play the scheme and not just. I mean, how will y'all handle that? I guess going into the game, of making sure he's not over revved.
That's a good question, and I'm sure Coach Johnson will talk to him a lot about that. I just think you got to remind him to go out and do your job and remember how you got here. And I think he will be excited, and I hope he is excited, and I hope he is a little ramped up on that first pass rush, and I hope he gets off the ball just a little bit faster than he usually does, because that would be really fast. But I think Coach Johnson will do a great job with him, and hopefully the first time he gets off the ball, it looks just like it had.
Second row left, Arnie from The Athletic.
Jeff, it's senior day, right? And there's going to be a lot of talk about what some of the seniors like Damon and guys in your room have brought to this program. But do you have an extra hour of time with Jeff this week too to kind of say goodbye? And
Why is Jeff leaving?
I would be shocked if he didn't.
No, this week, guys, every minute that we've had so far is going to prepare for Penn State. So hopefully I'm spending an extra hour with all of them going over the film, because this is a really good football team. This is the best football team that we've played thus far. So everything is about this game, and they will be in there working on that.
I was just messing around a little bit, but I was just wondering if you could take me through just your progression with him.
With who?
With Jeff, and just from the beginning, what you've seen in terms of his development as a lockdown corner, his physical development maybe.
Yeah.
I know it's been kind of a short time in the scope of an entire career, but how have you seen him?
I think the best thing I could say about Jeff, and this is the truth, is he gets better every single week. He does stuff at practice every single day that he looks better at. He just absorbs everything, and that's fundamentals, technique, that's scheme, that's reading routes, it's understanding zone concepts, it's understanding leverage and man, it's understanding stacks and bunches. He's always in my office. He's always texting me questions. The mental aspect of his game has grown so much. The physical aspect has grown so much. I don't even think that I think who we see now, who we see 2 games from now, will be a totally different player. And that's the fun thing about Jeff right now. The way he practices and the way he prepares, he's so much fun to coach. And again, that's a credit to him, and he is definitely a more confident player.
And final question, front row left, Doug.
Jeff, you talked about what a team will have to do to prepare for Chase, right? Did you see anything the last 2 games that you noticed, teams weren't maybe doing some things that they would have had to do? Like, what did you see a difference on film that, I can tell Chase is not there?
Well, yeah, I think you saw some deeper developing routes. I think you saw the back getting out a little bit more, the tight end getting out a little bit more. But if you look, the first team before Rutgers that tried that, we had 7 sacks. So the guys stepped up. And they probably should have kept the tight end in the back end. So you saw a little bit of, okay, maybe we don't have to do this, but then you saw what's coming. Because our young D-line, they're coming. And then hopefully at next year at this point, one of those guys is being talked about the same way that Chase is being talked about. So you got to give a lot of credit to those young guys because they stepped up in practice, which was awesome. I mean, if you guys could have seen them practice when he was gone, I mean, it was impressive. And they all stepped up. And that's a credit to Coach Johnson and a credit to those young guys because they did a really good job when he was gone. I mean, what do we have? 8, 9 sacks in 2 games? That's pretty impressive.
And you talked about that this will be the best group of receivers that you guys have faced. With the talent you guys have at corner, just, you know, they've played very well. You haven't been necessarily super tested in the passing game, you know, every week just with the opponent. Just what's it been like with that group, with that room that you know they're good, they know they're good, they're maybe not being pushed to the limit every week. Here comes a big game. What's it been like coaching them this year in that situation?
Well, you coach them hard. You coach them on every step. You coach them on every ball that's caught on them in practice. Because if you ask those guys, it's whether it's a walkthrough, whether it's a live rep, whether we're just jogging around, it's not okay to get a ball caught on you. And that's the mentality that they have to have. Because if they start becoming okay with the ball getting caught on them in walkthrough, then eventually it will be okay if they get it caught on them in a real game. So you just got to stay on them and coach them hard. And if their hands aren't in the right place, you got to get on them. And if their eyes aren't in the right place, you got to get on them. So again, I've said it's all about the process. It's not about the result. Jeff's locking a guy down over there. He doesn't get the ball thrown to him. That doesn't mean he graded out well. How was his first step? Where were his eyes? Did he really win on the route? Was he in the right position? Did he get his eyes back? So you just stay on him and you coach him hard on the process. So hopefully when the time comes, they're ready to make the plays.
Coach, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
Man, that's a good answer.
That's a good question.
All right, folks, we are gonna open up the floor for right tackle Branden Bowen. Front row right, Austin from Lettermen Row.
Brandon, there've been a lot of emotional days for you in the last couple of years. What are you going to be like on Saturday?
Probably on Saturday, this far into the season. I don't think I'll think about it too much. Especially, you know, in the big games, you know, coming into Wisconsin, thought the same thing. But just getting around my guys, I'm just really happy to be there and excited for the opportunity to go against such great defenses and such great teams.
So you're not thinking about coming out of the tunnel and, you know,
Oh,
having
yeah.
I'm
Oh,
sorry
yeah.
I'm sorry to
no, I
remind you.
forgot.
of
Yeah,
this.
no, I was thinking about it last night,
Okay.
but yeah, I completely slipped my mind that it was, yeah, it's gonna be. I didn't think it was gonna be as emotional as what I think now. It's definitely gonna be crazy, I guess. It's been a long journey, so I don't know. I guess we'll have to see.
No more questions about coming out of the tunnel. Second row left. Oops, Ari's not here. Far left, Lori from 610 WTVN.
Okay, so once you're out of the tunnel, you're gonna have, I imagine, your parents and your family?
Yeah, it'll be my mom and my fiance and my son.
Okay, so like 2 sets of flowers. Can you take us through how special they make this moment for you?
Definitely very special. Just, you know, Ohio State is the reason I have my son and the reason I have my fiance. So it's definitely super, I guess, heavy, you could say. And then my mother was the whole reason I'm probably here. I mean, she was the one who told me, like, no, you can't pass up this opportunity. And so but definitely very thankful for both of them.
You were going to pass up this opportunity?
No. She just, like, I guess pointed me in the right direction.
Okay.
Showed me all everything about here that I guess I didn't necessarily see being 18 years old at the time.
I think you met your fiance at Ohio State. That's what you said.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second row left, Bill from The Athletic.
Brandon, I'm not going to ask you about senior day. I'm curious about, I was asking Coach Wilson this, I think last week, about how you guys seem to be running more outside zone runs or wider zone runs. And he said part of that is you and Thayer, I guess, are pretty adept at just sort of getting out there and sort of leading the way on those kind of runs. Just What's it like when they call those plays? I don't know. What are you looking for when you're on the edge there, and how fun is it to know that they're sort of calling your number, so to speak, I guess, on those kind of plays?
Especially on outside zone plays, me and Thayer always look at each other and say, "Oh no, they're gonna call that for me in the game." Like no, like I'm gonna be, because those types of plays, they have such big explosive potential that we always say, "Oh, I'm gonna be on SportsCenter." Oh no, that's my block this game, and so. In different games, we've called it different ways, but it's definitely exciting to hear it, and I like running those plays. It's the coaches attribute it to our offensive line being athletic enough to be able to run those plays and really run at the same time as you're blocking somebody, and so I love those plays personally.
Do you think do you look at it as an opportunity? I don't know if people look at offensive linemen and think, "Oh yeah, athlete," but I think those are the opportunities to kind of flash that a little bit, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I've seen a bunch throughout this whole season of clips of Josh Myers. I mean, on those specific plays where he's being able to run and then he gets to the second level and just blows somebody up. And I think that's the ultimate show of athleticism, is to be able to run, but at the same time be under control and still make your block in a big way.
Front row right. Bill and dispatch.
Yeah. You've obviously been, as you said, through a long journey. Can you reflect back on what this year has meant to you, to come back and earn a starting job and be part of a line that's done what it's done and have the team having the success it's had?
Right. I mean, it's been amazing. I couldn't have dreamed of a better senior year so far, especially in regards to the offensive line. I mean, I've never been around a group of guys that have been so fun to be around. I mean, on the field, I don't know, some people can see it, but some people can't. A lot of the time, I mean, we're smiling, we're laughing, we're having fun, no matter what's happening. We never fight, talk things through, and it's been fun to get around those guys and, I guess, develop that sense of brotherhood that even I've never felt through my 5 years here, to that level.
And the fact that you guys haven't been tested from 10 games, really.
Right.
To have this game, we know it's next week and beyond. How pumped up are you about, okay, in certain ways, the season's finally starting?
Right. I'm excited. I mean, we're all, in the O-line room specifically, we're all super excited. I mean, it's, everyone says, like, the tests haven't come yet, but, I mean, whatever you put in front of us, we're excited for an opportunity to go out and prove what we need to prove.
Folks, I'm gonna stop this after this question right here, just because Justin's here and I want to be able to get everybody on board. But we can grab Branden just right outside if someone else needs him. Front row left, Mitch, the Associated Press.
Branden, you mentioned your fiance and your son, have big time responsibilities with football. How did you fit in school? Did you take advantage of online courses? Did you take most of your courses online?
Right.
How did you balance that?
Well, this last summer and then this fall, I'm in all online courses. I was able to get my degree, luckily, that spring semester that my son was born. So being able to be in those online classes for my second degree, it's been really helpful to be able to balance everything, because it's more of on my own time than it is, having to be at a specific class at a specific time.
When did you do your schoolwork? Did you find that you did it at a certain time every day? Or?
No, it's just kind of a, sometimes it's 9 a.m., sometimes it's after practice, just whenever I can fit it in.
Yep. Branden, thank you very much. And no luck about graduation. That was hard work. Justin, ready? All right, we'll open up questioning for Justin. Second row right, Tony from the Ozone.
Justin, a long time ago, it seems you were committed to Penn State. You're here now. What was it about Penn State that you thought was right for you? And then now that you're here, what has been right about Ohio State for you?
I thought I had a great relationship with all of the coaches there, and the offense was doing great at the time. Coach Moorhead he was there at the time. He's a great coach, great offensive-minded coach. So I just thought my ability to play and then my relationship with the coaches and all the other commits would eventually, help me become a better player, and just all those players that we had committed there at the time. It was just I had a great relationship with the coaches and the players there, so that's why I committed to them.
And then obviously Ohio State, you feel you made the right decision here. When did you, after getting here, when did you really realize that this was the best decision for you?
I mean, there were little times and places where I thought I made the right decision. So it wasn't really one set time where I like completely knew, but it was just kind of just a feeling, just the family atmosphere here and the brotherhood we have here kind of just helped me realize that this was a place to be.
Front row right, Austin from Lettermen Row.
And Justin, Coach Day was talking about just the routes and the way KJ Hill gets open, how effective that makes him. When did you realize he could be a real reliable guy for you?
As soon as I got here, Coach Day and all of the other offensive coaches just told me he was one of the better receivers on the team, and I think KJ is one of the smarter receivers on the team. He definitely knows what to do, where to break, and especially in zone defenses. He does a great job of finding the open zones, and even when I scramble, he does a great job in just kind of mirroring me and just try to find a space to get open.
For you, when you have to stand in there and take a shot to deliver a touchdown ball, everybody talks about you running and being tough there. Are those the ones that really make you proud as a quarterback when you have to take a hit in the pocket and throw something?
I think those are ones that feel the best, because you throw it up, you get hit, and you don't even know if it's a completion or not. So you kind of just wait on the ground and see what the crowd does. So just based on the crowd's reaction, that kind of it definitely, I guess, definitely feels the best for me. So.
Right next door, Tim, Lettermen Row.
Yeah, I got like 100 questions. I'll ask a couple. And again, going into a game like this, like against Wisconsin, what's coming up, on this, is there a sense by you that it's a whatever it takes approach? I mean, I would think there might be games where they're cautioning you against running too much and things like that, but what is just your sense this week? Is it whatever it takes from your position?
I think that's for every game with me, whatever it takes, because I'm willing to do whatever it takes to win every game. So it's not really certain games. I think when coach needs me to do certain things or the team needs me to do certain things, I'm willing to do it. So, yeah, it really is whatever it takes for me every game.
Yeah. And the other thing, compared to Georgia, how does this Ohio State playbook or play tablet stack up as far as the depth of it, both from the running game and the passing game? And do you feel like there's always an answer in there somewhere? Do you feel like the coaches are going to find an answer if some teams are giving you a little bit of trouble?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Day, everybody knows he's a great coach. He's probably one of the best coaches in the nation. So every time we face a defense, I have confidence in him that he'll find an answer for us to come up with to beat that certain type of defense. So really, I think the biggest thing for us is to just put all of our trust in him and just knowing that he'll lead us to the right path. And as long as we go out there and execute the play, that everything will be okay.
Right next door, Bill from the Dispatch.
Justin, Penn State's run defense is obviously very, very good. Their pass defense has been somewhat vulnerable. You haven't had a chance to really rack up big numbers. I know you're not about the numbers, but the fact that the passing game could be so crucial in this game, does that get you even more excited about this game? And how do you kind of approach that aspect of it?
I don't really get excited or I'm kind of an even kill guy, so I don't really my emotions don't really change. So I'm just going into this game like every other week, same preparation, same focus at practice, and we just have to make sure everybody on the team is focused at all times in practice and in meetings. So I think that'll help us do better on the field, because Coach Day talks about when talent equates, it's not about who's bigger, who's faster, who's stronger. It's about who prepares the best and who goes about the meetings and stuff off the field really the best. So that's what we're going to focus on this week.
Is there a sense that the passing game is going to be crucial this week?
I mean, I think the passing game is crucial every week. No matter who we play, I think it opens up the running game, and I think the running game opens up the passing game. So there's not really any you know what I mean? I don't really know the word for it, but there's not really any we're going to pass more this week or something like that. So I think we're just got to execute on all cylinders this week. So. Yeah.
Right next door, Joey from the Dispatch.
Justin, when you decommitted from Penn State, in your Twitter post, you said it was one of the hardest phone calls you had to make. What do you remember about calling them in that day?
Yeah, I just remember before I called Coach Franklin, I was nervous. I was I don't want to do this right now, but I talked to my dad before it, and we just felt like it was the best decision for me at the time, because I was kind of blowing up in my recruitment, and I really didn't want to go that far in terms of leaving home. So, I wasn't fully committed to the team and fully committed to the other commits, so I kind of felt bad talking to other schools and stuff like that. So I just talked to Coach Franklin, and Coach Franklin, he didn't see it coming. So just having that phone call with him, it definitely was one of the hardest phone calls I've ever had to make.
Is decommitting harder than people maybe think?
I think based on your relationship with the coaches, because me and him had such a good relationship, and I had such a good relationship with Coach Moorhead. I think just the relationship you have with the person, like that, like makes it harder. So it might be not as hard for a person who doesn't have that good relationship with their coach. So it's like it's really like breaking up with your girlfriend. Say if you have a good relationship with her or whatever, you don't want to break up with her, but you might have to because just of circumstances outside. So.
Front row left, Mitch from the AP.
Justin, you had talked several weeks ago about how you were taking all your classes online. Can you just talk a little bit about, how you fit that online schedule into your football life and what classes you're taking too? I'd like to know about that.
I have all right, so this got totally blown out of proportion like a few weeks ago. So I have one in class and then a lab that's in the class too. So, but the rest of them.
What are the classes?
Weather and climate. So yes, it's I think we have other few players in there, Chris Olave and then Cam Babbs in there too. So I'm in there with them, and the rest of my classes are online. So usually the assignments are usually due all on the same day, so that makes it easier for me. So I kind of know my schedule ahead of time and kind of what I need to focus on during the week, and kind of just set out a schedule ahead of time and stuff like that. So I think having online classes and you knowing when the due date is helps plan out your schedule like in the future. So that's pretty much why I did that.
How many online classes do you have? You have the one in.
Too many, to be
What's
honest.
that?
Too many classes, to be honest. But I think like 5, maybe 4 or 5. So yeah.
Far left, Lori from 610 WTVN.
Justin, James Franklin today was currently talking about Sean Clifford receiving death threats. I'm wondering how you deal with the fact that athletes and quarterbacks in particular are such targets for criticism. I mean, you even just now talked about your class schedule getting blown out of proportion. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think that's just crazy to me. I mean, I feel like people don't understand athletes in our point of view. I guess we're more than an athlete. So just receiving death threats over a loss like that, like that's I don't even know what to say to that, because that just blows my mind. And I know Sean's a great kid, a great guy. So and we're friends. So just hearing that from him, that really just blows my mind. And I really don't even know what to say to that, because that just, like, if that ever happened to me, I wouldn't know what to do, because that's never happened to me before. But yeah, just hearing that and hearing that he had to go through that definitely just really blows my mind. And I'm really at a loss for words for that, to be honest with you.
How have you avoided being that? Is it just because you haven't had a competitive game at Ohio State and you decommitted from Penn State? It's not like you haven't had moments that wouldn't make fans angry. How have you avoided it?
I don't really know how I've avoided it. I don't know how to, like, attract that. So I just feel like people maybe might put too much pressure on athletes or something like that. But that subject I have no, like, input on, to be honest with you, because that's never happened to me before. But yeah, that's just crazy to hear that.
Third row left, Edward from ESPN.
Justin, how have you and your teammates kind of rallied around Chase the last couple of weeks? What did you do to make sure that he didn't hang his head too low?
We just picked him up. We knew we know he's a strong guy inside, and he has brothers all around here in a family that supports him. So we were just around him, kind of encouraging him and saying that we got your back. So just going out there and playing for him, I think that was a big part, and kind of just proving to ourselves that fighting through adversity and playing through adversity helps us as a team. And I think it just made us stronger as a team.
What was it like to see him back in game prep this week?
I mean, he's been he didn't practice that week, but just seeing him is back. Of course, there's a little trash talk across the field, so just seeing him back is fun, and just getting to interact with him, of course, it's always a good time.
Did you see like a little bit more energy from him?
Nah, Chase is always full of energy and always talking trash, so it was pretty much the same Chase as always.
Got time for just a couple more questions. Third row, middle, Patrick from 24/7.
Justin, I don't know how much you've paid attention to Ohio State recent history, but the last 2 Penn State games have come down to the wire almost, with JT and then Dwayne having to have big drives. Coach Day was talking about you needing to be able to do that if it comes down to that in this one. How comfortable are you? We haven't seen you have to do that a lot this year at all, really. How comfortable are you in those late game situations, and how do you kind of envision those playing out if you have to do that?
The same as always. I mean, I'm not going to play any differently, whether it's the beginning of the game or the end of the game. I think every time we step on the field, our goal is to score. I don't think being later in the game puts more pressure on me, especially if it's late in the game. You've already played a full game with them. Like, you don't have to have any more pressure on you. So really just go out there, trusting the coaches, trusting the players. I think that's a big thing in late time, in late games. So not really doing anything different, just going out there and doing what we always try to do, and that's score.
When was the last time you had to drive the field late to win a game?
Maybe high school. I mean, I don't really know. So, yeah, I think high school, maybe junior year, we played Rome. So that was probably the last time.
Second row middle, Steve from 24/7.
Yeah, Justin, talked to Chris Olave after the game about the deep balls that you guys hit. He said that it took some time this year to get that going. Just how much hard work did you guys put into, and how cool is it? As you said, you may get knocked to the ground, but you hear a big roar at the other end. You know your guys come up with the play.
Chris is a great receiver, of course, and he's definitely a speedy guy. So just seeing that actually work out, that definitely shows that hard work pays off. So we put a lot of work into that in the off season and just during practice and stuff like that. So I think just working hard and just working on those deep balls and just working on the timing and stuff like that definitely helps the team out a lot. And we're definitely glad to actually see the hard work pay off.
A game like this, you may not have that opportunity quite as often, although they have given up a few big plays here and there. Just your thought on taking what they give you in this type of game and not maybe trying to force something in there.
I think that's a big part in playing quarterback, just taking what the defense gives you, because when you start to force things, that's when turnovers happen. And our plan to win is having no turnovers. So I think turnovers is a big thing in a game. So just making smart decisions and taking what the defense gives us, I think that'll be a big part into going into this game.
Third row right, Rob from the Dispatch.
Kind of related to that, most every quarterback has a favorite receiver, whether it's Tom Brady, whether it's Drew Brees. What goes into that? Is it just a guy that gets open? Is it a chemistry thing? Just you can.
What goes into what, like having a favorite receiver? Or
Yeah, and yeah.
I don't really have a favorite receiver here. I mean, I think we have a lot of great receivers here, but I think they just bring something different to the table. I think Ben, he's a big body. He can jump and go get the ball. He's a great route runner. KJ, great route runner. Smart. Chris, he can definitely take you deep. So I think different guys on the team bring different aspects to the game. There's just no way I could just choose one favorite receiver, because I feel like they just have different games. So it's hard for me to actually choose one guy. So I don't really try to choose a favorite receiver. I just go through my reads and just throw to who's open, really.
So there's no worry of forcing it into a certain guy.
Yeah, no, not really. Nah, not at all.
Justin, thank you very much.
Thanks.